Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with our second series in our community updates. And again, I think I know most of you in the room, but if not, my name is Rusty Denning. I'm the 2021 chair of the Chamber of Commerce here for Greenwood. But again, just wanted to talk a little bit about, as we shared in December from the initial updates from David and others in the audience who will get up and speak again today. Discover Greenwood, Uptown Greenwood, and Greenwood County, just showing how we're working together to advance economic and community development efforts that will enhance the quality of life and continue to grow a greater Greenwood County. But before we begin, I would like to do one quick thing, if I could, is introduce to you our new chamber president and CEO, Barbara Ann Hegan. She's an experienced chamber professional whose skills bode well for leading the chamber forward, especially with the things that we have going on over the next decade. Barbara Ann has relocated from Oneonta, New York with her 3 children. So Barbara Ann.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here in your community. I look forward to partnering with all of you and collaborating. I think this is a great, strong initiative to come together, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And following the conclusion of this presentation, I do have handouts to give to each of you of the work that we're going to do together. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara Ann. First, before we had each of our groups come up and speak a little bit, I know from previous discussions, there were some discussions on exactly what is this group accomplishing, each individual, how are we working together. So hopefully we can clear some of that up for some folks today if you had questions from our initial meeting. Want to share what we've accomplished, and you'll hear first from Kelly McWhorter from Discover Greenwood for our marketing update. Then, of course, David Daugherty from the Chamber, since he has been working on that, followed by Laura Hudson, and then James Bateman will help wrap everything together. But as you can see, our priorities and progress, again, we wanted you to really see that it's not just the Greenwood Chamber trying to do this. We know that, again, we're starting as a part of it, but as you can see from on the screen, marketing, that's been the priority for Kelly and the group at Discover Greenwood, but everyone has been a part of that process. Workforce strategy, again, that kind of fell with what we're doing at the Chamber, but again, everybody in this collaboration is working together on it. Retail strategy with Laura and her group, public transportation with the county, and of course, industrial development and recruitment, the county as well. But what we hope to show you today is what things have been accomplished, but also be able to really wrap this thing together to show you that we are truly working in collaboration with the different organizations in the community. Because when you look at economic development, it's the broader picture. It's not just one piece or another. It's all of these things coming together. So with that, I would like to ask Kelly McWhorter to come up first. I believe you're first on the agenda, Kelly.
Thank you, Rusty. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kelly McWhorter. I am the Executive Director of Discover Greenwood. And while Discover Greenwood promotes economic development through tourism, recruitment, and tourism servicing, our organization has really not been as involved on the local level of economic development until now, and we are honored to be a part of the group. We are pleased to provide marketing support to this new cooperative, Greenwood Together, and with the assistance and guidance of Design Sensory, which is currently our agency of record for Discover Greenwood, we are charged with ensuring that any and all messaging and branding for this new organization is cohesive and consistent throughout, whether this pertains to industrial recruitment, workforce strategy, retail strategy, and of course marketing. We want to make sure that all of our messaging and all of our communication with everyone is the same throughout. So we've been busy over the last few weeks, and I'm excited to provide you with some new updates on what we've been up to. About 6 weeks ago, many of you received an online survey that Design Sensory put together to help them in the branding and messaging process. And I want to go over some of the takeaways from that survey with you. Some of the top short-term goals were to solidify relationships, of course, have a unified plan, simplify, also bring a broader tourism focus. We are excited about that one in particular because there are some new opportunities that we think we can work with, and of course, new business recruitment. And some of the top long-term goals include business recruitment and retention, increase tourism, and further leverage Lake Greenwood, improve the overall quality of life and workforce development. Some of our top strengths, which I don't think will come as any surprise to all of us here in the room, are the people, Lake Greenwood, higher education, diverse, business-friendly environment, quality of life, and a beautiful, friendly setting. Some of our weaknesses include lack of a unified plan and existing fragmentation, crime, drugs, and gang activity, public education, available quality housing, and fringe blight. The other thing that we have been working with is a new website for the group, which is, it can be found at greenwoodtogether.com. If I hit right here, there it is. So the mission of Greenwood Together is to advance economic and community development efforts in Greenwood County in ways that enhance the quality of life here and continue growing an even greater Greenwood. We provide coordinated services from collaborative partners with a common goal to recruit and retain business, industry, and talent in Greenwood. There's some additional information on this website that I will leave for you guys to explore on your own time. But we are excited to have that component almost finished. And we also have another component that we want to share with you. Let's see. At the end of the meeting today, each of you will receive the first handout of several handouts that we're going to be producing to further educate our community on Greenwood Together. This is just an example of part of the handout. We feel like it's important for everyone to know the roles of each organization involved. So this overview piece of collateral will address all of those things. So when this meeting concludes, there will be several people in the room that have the collateral that are happy to distribute to you. This may not answer all of your questions, and that's okay. Our contact information is included. David's is included as well. So feel free to let us know if you have any questions or further concerns. One thing as I close out, one thing I want to say is that this is a work in progress. It is ever changing and ever fluid. Of course, we're putting together a brand new organization in the middle of a pandemic. So that is challenging, but we are moving forward and we're excited about the things that are yet to come. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Doherty. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Got to get my glasses on. Mask will fog up with glasses, so I just go this way. At our December 1st meeting, one of the things that I articulated is that based on mine and James' conversations and meeting with industry, and the outcome of those interviews was that we needed to launch a workforce development plan to create a strategic plan, if you will. And when we finished with the early December meeting, what my next step was to work with James, and we crafted a request for proposal. We sent those out in early December, and we sent it out to 7 different areas, or 7 different consultants, if you will. We received back 4 proposals to do a workforce strategy plan, and from those proposals we had a committee of 4 people, which was 2 from the chamber and 2 from the county administration, and we all went through those proposals, ranked them, scored them, and selected a company called Economic Leadership LLC. They were chosen to undertake this task, and as of the end of December 30th to be exact, we finalized a consultancy agreement with them. Their scope of work in creating the strategic plan is to be first align with past workforce and economic development strategic work that's already been done, and provide back to us a summary of common themes, divergent themes, and also make some major recommendations. Their second objective is going to be to engage local stakeholders to gather quantitative and qualitative information for research input. And they hope by the end of February or mid-February to have those results aggregated in a summary given back to us for further discussion and interviews with focus groups, things of that nature. The third objective is to assess Greenwood County's current economic and potential for future growth. This information is going to be included in a final report that they'll deliver to us in late March or early April. They're also going to assess the workforce demand and supply to see where the gaps are there, and also do an impact study on COVID and how it has impacted the community, and doing some trending, if you will, for current and future supply needs of workforce. Another objective is going to be to determine the gaps and areas for improvement in the current ecosystem that we have, and come back to us with a best practice document summary. The use of the qualitative information and quantitative information gathered is going to be used to define specific, achievable, and actionable goals for improvement. The deliverables that are going to be included in that component is going to be programmatic offerings that we should consider. They're going to give us a roadmap to demonstrate existing industries and prospects for the workforce continuum and life cycle in Greenwood County, which is going to include a step-by-step actionable work plan. They're going to provide us with a scorecard or dashboard, if you will, for tracking purposes to be able to report out to you, our stakeholders. They're going to give us some marketing recommendations to support implementation, and they're also going to craft an implementation plan for the Chamber to administer in the community on these collective workforce development efforts. This is also going to include coordination of a working group of allies and key industry partners that will carry out the strategic plan recommendation. As Kelly said, we've been very busy the last 30 days in terms of refining our scope and being very planned and forward moving in terms of everything. We hope to have this workforce strategic plan in by the first to middle of April, if you will. One of the expectations that we feel will come out of this is that it's going to point to other strategic focuses that we're going to need to do. Examples would be things like addressing gaps in housing, and that's going to be twofold. The entire spectrum. You have the affordable housing, you have the higher end, the more upwardly mobile folks. We lose a lot of executive level people working in our community to other areas, and we feel like there's some messaging that we can align there to help draw those back in. This is going to be a community-wide process over time. It's not going to be a short-term process. And one of the things that I would hold up to everybody is this is not a Greenwood effort. This is a Greenwood County effort. And the intention is to be inclusive of all of the outlying municipalities and try to improve the quality of life for everybody overall. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Laura.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those that don't know, I'm Laura Hudson. I work for the City of Greenwood. I'm the Uptown Manager, and currently I am responsible for everything in the Uptown. With this new coalition, or Greenwood Together as we're now calling it, I am going to go into a expanded role where I will be leading the retail recruitment and retention for the entire City of Greenwood. And what that led to was the first thing we had to do is hire someone to replace some of the things that I won't be doing anymore, specifically our events and our farmers market. Our market manager left at, I believe it was in August of last year. Is that about right? And so we decided to roll those two positions together. So we actually this afternoon will start our first round of interviews for that position. So that is the first step that we are working towards to get our retail recruitment strategy off the ground. We will be hiring that person, hopefully, and have them in place probably around February, maybe March, depending on how things happen. But we have 4 potential candidates, and we're very excited about that. So that's the first step that we've taken in our process. So for the city, we've never really had a true retail focus whatsoever. So we are truly building this from the ground up. And so working together with the group here has been very beneficial for us to do that. The second topic that we were going to give an update on is our retail activity. Some of you have heard of the Buxton study, and that was a retail analysis that we had done last year. And we are continuing to work that program. We were matched with 20 potential restaurants and retailers, and we are working that program. We are talking through that. We are working with K-Self with the Partnership Foundation. And we actually do have one potential that we are already talking to very actively, and we are in the process of scheduling a meeting with that retailer and another community partner in the next couple of weeks. So we're very excited about that first potential win for our retail program. The the third thing on our list is building inventory. We know that we have a lot of empty buildings in not only Uptown but also within the city limits, a lot of boxes. So we are in an exploratory phase right now. We have a meeting scheduled for next week with a company to help us do a building inventory and asset study to see what we have available, what are some of the uses of those buildings, and also to help us with some marketing type sheets different from what Design Century is doing, but this is specifically to the buildings themselves. So that's where we are, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if we're going to do questions now or later, but if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer any of those. All right, I will turn it over to James. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I want to update all of our stakeholders from Greenwood County on the 2 ownership areas or areas of responsibility that the county is taking on as a part of this cooperative, those being public transportation and industrial development. Public transportation, as we said at our last meeting in December, has been an ongoing conversation for some in the room as long as a decade or more, and we want to update you on the latest step that Greenwood County is taking towards some type of public transportation system, and that is that a rural transit initiative is an agenda item tonight on County Council's agenda. Should they pass that resolution at their meeting, which I believe is their intent, will authorize the county staff to continue working with South Carolina Department of Transportation to start a new small-scale transit program through a partnership with McCormick Area Transit. So we'll find out more about that as we work through the process, but a rural transit initiative is the next step for our public transportation efforts. Next on the, go one more, please. On the industrial side, want to update our stakeholders on how we're maintaining momentum with industrial recruitment and retention. Thought the best way to do that starting a new year is to update you on our year-end numbers and where we finished 2020, and smaller than it was on my computer screen for you in the back, but from July 1st of 2020 to the latter half of last year, Since that time to present, the Council has passed two incentive packages for two projects that total $135.7 million and 30 new jobs to be created. And for those two projects and that cumulative $135 million of capital investment in one half of the year exceeds the totals in previous years going back to 2016. It's the highest investment total since 2016 when Taejin was announced. And if you take Taejin out of 2016, if you're looking at a cumulative investment for multiple projects that exceeds or goes up to 135 million, you'd be going back to 2013 when Colgate was announced and several other projects. So already since halfway through 2020 to until today, already exceeding capital investment averages for this year, and we have more projects, such as a $40 million project that is on the County Council agenda tonight for its final approval and public hearing, which would take that 135 million up to 175 million. So the number will continue to go up, and that would be the third project this year, and that we're on track to have a couple more, hopefully, that would be announced by the end of the year. That may be a formal announcement of a project that's previously been negotiated, but would be added to our year-end totals. So this, again, is looking at half a year, but wanted to give you the numbers to represent where we are today and how far ahead we are of years in the past. And the way Greenwood Together and Greenwood County is carrying forward economic development on the industrial recruitment side. And also, we have responded to more than 15 requests for information in that time as well. And July 1 is our investment numbers, but really the request for information, that's since around the August time period. Those last few months of the year have responded to more than 15 requests for information. So the industrial activity is continuing, and the county is answering those requests, submitting any sites or buildings that we have that are a match for prospective industries. Let's see if you can go back one. Yes, thank you. And finally, in order to keep up with all of that activity on the industrial side, want to let all of our stakeholders know that we'll be hiring a project manager to work in the county economic development office, getting that job posted as soon as possible so that we can add to our capacity to be responsive to our existing industries and prospective industries. We can continue to maintain this level of activity on the industrial side. Let's see if we get back to the third slide. Rusty had priorities and progress, of course. Thank you. Yes. Our clicker did not cooperate. Thank you, Susan, for getting us back to the priorities and the progress of Greenwood Together, which is where we wanted to finish, and to remind our stakeholders of the priorities for Greenwood Together. What are our economic and community development goals for this cooperative, and what's our progress to date for Greenwood Together? You've heard this from our partners, but our priorities are a common theme of selling Greenwood as a destination. We can sell Greenwood as a destination collectively through the marketing efforts that Kelly and Discover Greenwood are leading currently for the entire cooperative. And you heard about the progress that's been made on marketing with those survey takeaways, and wanted you to know that's direct input from all of you in this room. We asked you at our last meeting if you hadn't already take that survey. They had a good response rate to that survey, and so those takeaways that Kelly presented are from direct input from all of you and a larger group of stakeholders that might be online or unable to join us today. And that has validated our focus with Greenwood Together. You heard Kelly talk about workforce development as an opportunity, business recruitment as a reaffirmed priority for all of our stakeholders, and business recruitment that include industrial, small business, and retail that you've heard our various partners discuss their efforts on, as well as quality of life, which is the overall mission of Greenwood Together, improving the quality of life by doing all of the things that we have told you today. And then the progress, namely on that workforce strategic plan, and getting that launched with a consultant that will be here on the ground working throughout the first quarter of 2021, and bringing that plan back to the stakeholder. And David mentioned the allies that will be involved in that process. To ask I've used that term a lot. Someone may ask, who are the allies? And I see many of them in the room, just as it relates to workforce specifically. Dr. Glenn, Dr. Ward, superintendents for public schools, our private schools will also be at the table. Katie from Greenwood Promise will be a key stakeholder in that discussion. Matt, our regional workforce advisor from Department of Commerce, will all be a part of that workforce planning effort. This consultant will seek input directly from each of those individuals, as well as our higher education institutions, to put together that plan that will then come back to this group at a future meeting. We look forward to updating all of you again on these efforts on February the 2nd. Presumably at 3 o'clock at this time, continues to workforce preceding our county council meetings. We want to keep all of you up to date every 30 days. We'll tell you again what our progress has been and what's next at our next meeting. And happy to take any questions for myself or any of the others that you've heard present today. And then we'll just remind you, before you have any questions, that we have the handouts that we'll pass to you, so you can have something in your hand to visualize who is Greenwood Together. When you leave here today, you say, I think maybe Laura told me she was doing this. Let me look back at this handout, and what is it that Uptown or the city are doing as a part of this cooperative? That's where you can find that information in your hand, and then the greenwoodtogether.com website as well. Any questions or comments for anyone in the group?
James, I just wanted to say one thing about the website, and maybe Kelly or somebody else wants to elaborate about the intent of it being this landing site where we have one place that any type of investor wants to go. So if you're looking for industrial, you go to this website. If you're looking for retail space in the county, you go to this website. If you're looking for a retail space in the Uptown or in the city, you go to this website. I don't know if somebody wants to elaborate on that.
Thank you, Julie. And now we're done with the slides. If you can get it onto the website. Had it linked from the presentation. It doesn't always link like you want it to. It's because I told her it was linked and it would work. But we're going to try to get to that. So just click through and see Julie make a great point for everyone to know. That is, we talk about a website. It's a landing site to find contact information. Who do I get in touch with for industrial, for retail, for small business in Greenwood, all of Greenwood County? Who to contact and where to find more information. So this landing website is a start. This is the first thing that's been launched on the marketing side. At the conclusion of phase 1 marketing that we went into a little more detail in the December 1st presentation, at the conclusion of that, around the end of January, going into February, I believe, is when the ad agency will present to us their strategic recommendations, what's next. So landing site is good for right now, but it won't always just be a landing site. So if you go to greenwoodtogether.com and you say, well, my information's not on there, how would they get to me from this? Know that that's just the landing site. That's not all inclusive like future website build out will likely be, that will be recommended, I would think, by Design Sensory in their next steps. Yes, thanks. Got it.
As we market Greenwood, we feel like there's a lot of advantages to having a destination point that can be used for inquiry on anything, be it tourism, festivals, relocation, and if we can mirror all this together where you can have one place that somebody that's looking at this area can go to and gain access without having to go to other websites, we feel like that would be very strategic for people that are looking for Greenwood for whatever the reason be.
Thanks for making that point, Julie. Councilwoman Childs, yes ma'am.
James, how are we marketing our open boxes that we have on all the lines?
We want to get to that point. It is a recognized opportunity, and Laura mentioned as her third point from her update that a next step for that is an exploratory meeting, is what I'd call it, that Laura has set up to talk with a service provider that inventories open spaces or open box retail stores that are now vacant. It will likely entail a hiring of a consultant or service provider to inventory all of those spaces and put it all into one place for us, both in the city and outside of the city, all throughout the county. And that could be two different things. We can talk about expansion of a scope of work. But first have to know what product is available in order to sell it. We see the open boxes, but to have all the information in one place will be critical on a commercial recruitment side, just like it is for our industrial that we talk about. On the county side for our buildings and sites, same would be true for commercial. We need a place for that commercial availability without having to track it down every time we get an inquiry from a property manager that many times is outside the state of South Carolina. So the next step would be inventorying those available spaces. That is a goal, and that is being looked into. And a next step likely be having to hire a service provider to do that.
I'll say too, just to elaborate on what James said, as you're looking through this Buxton plan, this retail strategy that was put out, we had an interested business. We reached out to them and said, General Bliss would like to come to Greenwood. James and Laura and I are going to call them, and they're saying, oh, just like sorry. And, they said, well, we need access for a drive-through, we need outdoor dining, we need this much square footage. And whereas if an industry contacted us, James would have that information just like that. We don't have that same level of a database for empty boxes or commercial spaces in the city. Laura does a good job of keeping up the properties in the uptown, but they change hands very quickly. And so that's just touching on more so what James said. We as this collaborative Greenwood together need to be able to crank that information out very quickly and make it as easy as possible for these businesses to say, well, Greenwood's really got it together. They know exactly what their inventory is. They know exactly what I need. They're pointing me in the right direction. They're giving me options. And so we're slowly sort of taking the steps to get where we need to be.
Thank you, Julie. Great comments that you added. That is what the corporate real estate professionals are expecting of Greenwood and any community that they look at for expanding their retail or restaurant. So that will be a necessary next step, Ms. Childs. Thank you.
I would hope that we would not go outside of Greenwood to get information that's readily available inside of Greenwood. So I hope we exhaust our local inventory, whether it be through our realtors or whomever that has information about available space. I would certainly start there before I start with a consultant.
Yes, sir. And thank you, Mr. Brown. Point well taken. And if your comment stems from what I said about property managers outside of South Carolina, I didn't want anyone to think of casting aspersions on maybe local property management companies. I was thinking of these big box, vacant big boxes you see around the bypass. I was thinking mainly of some that are managed out of Charlotte or Atlanta as a part of these commercial portfolios. And sometimes it's difficult to track down those property managers and obtain the information with expediency that is expected of us. So to collectivize that information, but certainly if we have the capacities to collect all that information in-house amongst our cooperative organizations, that's something that would be looked at before hiring that out, have someone else come in and tell us what is available. It's also about keeping up with the information as it changes, not a one-shot thing. But keeping a pulse on it both inside and outside of the city, all across the county. So it's something we need to learn more about, and I think Laura will probably get some good feedback.
That if it's above a sign, I'm absolutely good to get above. But there's so many of those boxes that are owned by companies that have one property in this city and 20 more. So what we're really looking for this outside firm to do is to come in and give us an inventory of everything we have. Bubba's name will be on there along with the guy that lives in Canada that manages the property. So we definitely are going to go to them as well to get their information.
Absolutely, you can use those local points of contact, 'cause that's where the relationships are with filling those spaces. Thank you. All right.
James, we had a question from the Zoom audience. Who will be handling the small business retail recruitment efforts outside of the city? Maybe just that.
That's a very good question. The county, anything in the county that's outside of Laura's purview, if you will, that will fall to the chamber. And Laura and I will work closely together in this process. And if she has a business that's a better fit outside the city, then she and I will work together on that, and vice versa.
Great, thank you.
So to add on to David's answer, it's recruiting retail and small business and retaining those businesses outside of the city and all other areas of the county will be a responsibility of the chamber. And I think that a more direct answer on who it is going to be doing it would come after Barbara Ann has more time as the new president and CEO of the chamber to get some time under her belt and what their strategy will be for the chamber as their own entity going forward to figure out how they will handle that. So more to come on that specifically. Thank you for funneling through that question online. Any other comments or questions? Would like to point out a few of our stakeholders that are here and all important members of the business and community that have come here today. Do want to point out, because it has been the absence of industry has been pointed out in the past. I would also like to say that Michael Walters from Ascend Performance Materials is in the audience today. And we have a site leader from one of our manufacturing plants here that is being a part of the effort as well. And he and our other manufacturers will be a part of the process on the workforce side and our collective Greenwood Together efforts. Michael, thank you for coming today as well. With that, we'll see everyone on February the 2nd for the next update, and we'll pass out our handouts on Greenwood Together for all of you as you leave.
Thank y'all for coming.